Hi guys, in this tutorial I'll show you how you can easily create an Avengers 4 style dissolving logo animation. So without further ado, let's get started. First thing that you want to do before you create your logo is you want to get a font that will look like the Avengers logo. I found one website over here called thefont.com. The font name is called Avengers Heroic Avenger, but unfortunately I can't use it for this tutorial because it's the license doesn't allow me to. But if you want to create a logo just for fun and not for profit, go ahead and download this one. But for my case, I found one free font over here called Blade Runner, the Blade Runner movie font. It's 100% free, and that's the one I'm going to be using for this tutorial. So just go ahead and click download. Once you download it, you'll get a zip file. And then in your zip file, you just need to extract this out to a folder. So you probably just go copy and then go back to the downloads folder and press paste. Alright, so now we'll go into Blender 2.8 and quickly just set up my scene before I do anything. So I'm going to hit 1 on my numpad so that we move to the front orthographic view. I'm going to right click and select my camera over here and then go Control Alt 0 on my numpad. That'll automatically position the camera so that it faces the front view. Okay, it's just a handy little feature that does that. We don't need the cube, so I'm going to right click the cube and hit X, delete. Alternatively, you can click on the cube and then right click and delete it from here as well. We want to keep the point lamp as we will use it a little bit later. Okay, so now it's time to add in our text. So to add in our text, just go Shift A and then you just select text. And then it'll be positioned in the wrong axis, so we need to rotate it on the x-axis. So I just go RX90 and it will rotate it back 90 degrees so that it faces the front of the camera. Okay, so here we just go ahead and name something like My Movie. Oops, something like that is looking good. But we haven't included our new font, so to include that, go over to this tab over here in the Properties window, the Object Data tab. Under font, just expand that, and then next to regular, just click on the open folder over there and navigate to your file. So in this case, this is my font over here that I extracted to the folder. So make sure it's a .ttf file. Go ahead and click open font and straight away you'll see that our new font has come in. Now this is, I'm just going to quickly add this in. This is just something specific to this font, but if I go Shift B, it gives me a human emoticon, so I think that'll look pretty cool when we render out our animation. So I'll just keep that there. You don't have to do this, just something I want to add in just to make it look more stylish. So we're pretty much done with that. Okay, so also maybe I might add in a little bit of spacing just to make it look more movie-like. So under spacing, I'll just probably drag this up just a tad, something like that, just to give it a bit more of a movie logo type of a feel, and I think that's looking okay. Okay, next thing we want to do is we want to place this origin over here right in the center of the text. So I'm just going to change the alignment here from left, horizontal left, to horizontal center. So we have it right in the middle. Same with the vertical, we'll put it on the center. So our text is right in the middle of our rendered frame, which is good. Okay. And I think that's looking good for the logo. So now, I mean, if you want to do some more tweaks to your text, now is the best time to do it. You can play around with these other effects and make your text look good. But what I want to do is I'm going to call this good, and I'm going to start to convert this into a mesh. So to convert it to a mesh, just go F3. I already typed it here, but if you haven't already, just go convert to and mesh. Convert to mesh from a text. So now when we tab into edit mode, it's an actual mesh now. Okay, so that's cool. So the next step is simply just to give it a bit of thickness. Now we can either go to the modifiers and go add modifier solidify, but I think for this case I'll just do it manually. So just tab into edit mode and hit A to select all the vertices, and then go E, Y, just to move it back on the Y-axis. Okay, we'll tab out of edit mode and we have a 3D text logo now complete. Okay, we can't really see that in our view here, so I might just quickly drag it a little bit out some more. Yeah, something like that. So just so that we can see a little bit of the outline from the camera. Cool, so our 3D logo is done, and let's just go ahead and save it. Okay, so now it's time to start dissolving the logo, just like how we saw the characters dissolving in Avengers Infinity War. So to do that, I'm going to be using the technique shown by Yoji Graphics on his YouTube channel. I liked his technique, so I'm going to be applying that in Blender 2.8. So it's going to be quite quick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, it's slightly modified from his version. I'm just doing a more quicker, lazier version. First thing you want to do is you want to create a cube, and this is going to act as the part that rips apart your logo. So I'm just going to tab into edit mode and hit S, X, and make it about the length of your logo. Okay, then tab out, and then we'll just move it down to about there. Now depending on how you want your logo to disappear, I'm going to go in sort of this direction. You don't have to follow my direction, you can make your own direction, whichever looks cool. I mean, you can make your logo disappear from left to right, or from right to left, or from the top to bottom, or from the bottom to top. I'm sort of doing a diagonal effect. Okay, so one thing you need to do is you don't want to see it in the render, so I'm going to turn off this camera over here next to cube. So I'm just going to say, call this the logo ripper. Okay, and we'll just turn off this one over here. Text is a bit boring, I'll just call it my movie text. Okay, so when I hit render, I only see my logo and I don't see the other cube over here. So with the logo ripper selected, we want to add a little bit of variation. Oh, actually, before I do that, let me just quickly show you what I'm going to do. Select your movie logo. In the modifiers panel, go ahead, or not the modifiers panel, yeah, modifiers panel. Go ahead and hit add modifier and select Boolean. Then select the logo ripper. So just to see clearly what we're doing, I'm just going to right click this logo ripper and go to the object panel of the properties window, and under, I think it's viewport display, let's change display as from textured to wire. Okay, so now if I select the logo ripper and then move it up, you can see we're immediately dissolving, well not dissolving, but making the logo disappear. So that's exactly what we want to do. Okay, so I'm going to change the animation of this so that, I mean, we'll have a look at our logo, give it a bit of time so that the viewer can see our logo. And then maybe on frame 50, I'll go over here. Let's rotate it in this kind of direction. Let's turn keyframe on. Actually, let's to make it easier, let's go to the animation tab over here. Go to the front view by hitting 1 on your numpad, and then turn on this automatic keyframe selection. The reason I went to the animation tab is so that I can see this dope sheet. Hit G on your keyboard and then hit enter. That will create a keyframe on the dope sheet. Then decide how long you want your dissolving animation to go for. I might go until maybe frame 120, really depends what you want to do. So I'll just go over here and then maybe about there. Okay, so we have something that looks like this. Okay, another thing, my cube isn't big enough, so let me just remove that keyframe for 1 second and scale it up a lot more. SZZ and give it a bit more height and move it back. Okay, so in frame 50 we'll have that shape, and frame 120 we want to engulf it completely so that it looks like that. Okay, so let's go ahead and hit save. By hitting space on the keyboard, if I play back my animation, and you can see on the viewport here as well, our logo disappears. But we want to, right now it's having a very boring straight line look, so we want to add a lot more variation to it. So to do that, I'm just going to go tab into edit mode, select all the verts, go W, subdivide, and then open up this panel over here, and then we do something like, I don't know, 10. And then we'll go to vertex select mode, and then just select some random vertices at the top, like so. Doesn't matter. Okay, so now it will enable proportional editing. Just go enabled, change from smooth to random. Now we'll just move them back like so, so that we create these cool little variations. I might just do some over here. We don't want to make them look uniform, so make them look as random as possible so that we get rid of that straight liney look. Cool, so now when I play back the animation, if you look over here, we get a more dynamic look. Over here, maybe I might just tab in and move this one up a little, since we're not fully covering the logo. Tab in over here, we'll just, oops, over here. Just drag this up so that it covers the logo. Okay. Okay, there's a bit of an issue going on over here. It's probably the result of the Boolean modifier not intersecting well with the human. But anyways, it doesn't matter, we can just fix that up. By maybe moving this one a little bit over here. So let's just see if that clears it. Sorry. Okay, sometimes you get those weird artifacts with the characters coming through. This is purely because the mesh isn't doesn't have good topology, and the Boolean modifier here doesn't really know how to handle that, because over here we have a lot of messy faces and verts going on over here. Ideally we'll have to clean this up and fix it up before you actually go ahead and do the Boolean modifier, but I'm doing a very cheap and quick way where I'm just keyframing it manually so that we don't actually see that. So any part that looks a little odd, I'll just step frame by frame. Here looks a bit odd. Yep, over here looks a bit odd, so I'll just select the cube and manually just move it until it looks about right. Okay, here as well. Okay, such that now when I play back the animation, we get a smooth but a more varied dissolving animation. That's exactly what we want. So perfect. So at this point I'm happy, and I'll go back to our original tab, which is the layout tab. Okay, go ahead and hit save. Okay, next thing I want to do is we want to start to emit particles out from our logo. So for that we need to create these little shards, like, you know, when in Avengers, when the characters start to dissolve, they start to turn into dust. That dust particle is what we need to create right now. So to do this, all I'm going to do is just create a very simple mesh. Just go Shift A, mesh, and then I might choose icosphere, same as what your Graphics did. I'll turn down the number of subdivisions. We don't need a lot of verts for this. And then basically we'll just create a bunch of variations. So I'll still keep the proportional editing turned on, and then I'll just create some different weird and wacky shapes. So one like that. Cool, then I'll just go Shift D, another one like this, and create another weird shape. Try to make them quite thin, but give them different shapes wherever possible. Okay, another one like this. Okay, so we have something that looks like this. So these will be our dust particles. So we're going to select all these ones over here. Oops, this is not aligned in the center, so I'll select that and align it right in the orange dot. Type into edit mode, just fix these up a bit. That's looking okay. Okay, anyways, we'll select all these ones by right click and then shift right clicking the others. Hit Ctrl G on your keyboard to make it a collection, and we'll name this one dust particles. Okay, so these will be under the dust particles collection. Okay, so we'll remove the keyframes here for a second. We don't, if you have keyframe, automatic keyframe selection turned on, just turn it off now. We don't need it. And we'll just move this out of frame. Just keep it somewhere there. Okay, cool. Next, what we want to do is we want to now emit like where it starts to intersect with the logo. We want dust particles to come out. So to do that, all we need to do is we need to create a duplicate of this. Okay, so I'll just go back over here, and what I want to do is I'm going to hit Shift D on the logo ripper, and then you'll see logo ripper.01. I'll just name this one logo ripper particles just to make it easier. And we also need to Shift D this one as well, the logo. I'll call this one my movie text particles, just so it's easier to comprehend. So select the logo ripper particles, tab into edit mode, and select only the top faces. So for this one, I might have to change from wire to solid for a second. And how will we do this? I don't really know. You can use the circle select tool and then just circle select all of these ones. All we can do is go to the face select by clicking that, selecting the middle face over there, then hit Control plus 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 plus. That'll automatically select all the top faces. Or you could do it manually, one by one if you want, but this is the quickest way that I know. Okay, so now let's go Shift D and we'll just move it up a little bit. So maybe something around about there should be good. So what we did now is we selected all the top faces of that, the part that intersects with the text. We then hit Shift D to duplicate it, so that we have, and then we moved it up a little bit so that we have a little bit of a gap over here. Now I know this doesn't make much sense, but it will in a few minutes. So next thing you want to do is hit E to extrude and move it up to around about there. So now you have pretty much a long rectangular cube with a broken fractal piece right in the middle. So how this is going to act is this is going to only show the parts of the mesh where we want the particles to come out from. So if I go from display as wire again, and if I hide the logo ripper, logo ripper and also the movie text, so we only see the particles part. Now if I play back the animation, you can see something that looks like that. But what we want to do is we don't want to see this part of the text as well. So in the my movie particles text, we need to ensure that it's using the right modifier, not logo ripper, but logo ripper particles. So now if I play back my animation, you'll just see only the part where we want the particles to come out from. So obviously it's not big enough over here. So I might have to go to logo ripper for a second, select these vertices over here, and then just extend it out so it covers the text. Okay, so it's looking like so. If I don't think that's enough, I might just go ahead and select all of these ones and then just move it in a little. We'll turn off proportional editing, disable, move it in a bit more so that the gap is smaller. But you can see pretty much what I'm trying to do. We only want to expose a little part of the mesh where we want the particles to come out from. Okay, so at the beginning we don't want to see any part of that particle mesh, and then we start to see a little bit, so this is where the particles will start emanating from, and then it disappears again. Okay, so next thing we want to do is we want to actually start adding particles to our mesh on the my movie text particles mesh. So we wanted to start from let's say frame 50. Okay, frame 52. Okay, so let's start to add the particles to my movie text particles. So go to the particles tab here in the properties window, hit new, and then we need to choose the front and end times for our particles. Right now it's coming randomly in the center point. We don't want it to do that. So let's tab out, and we will choose the frame start to be frame 50. Let's say frame 51. Oops. And we want it to end at at the part where we last see the logo over here. Yeah. Frame 106. Okay, so we'll end it at frame 106. Lifetime, we'll keep it at 200. That means we want to keep it alive. We want to keep our particles alive for 200 frames before it disappears. So I think that'll do it. And right now, the particles are coming right off the center of the object, which is not right. So we need to use the modifier stack. So expand source over here and select use modifier stack. Change emit from faces to emit from volume. So now if you play back the animation from here, we get something that looks like this, which is almost close to what we want to do. So we're starting to get there, but it's not looking quite right. For one thing, the particles are going downwards. We don't want the particles to go downwards. Just like in the Avengers, we wanted to go up in the air. We want to swivel and go a little bit up in the air. So we need to change a few things. First of all, we need to change the gravity. So over here in the Scene tab, expand gravity and change it to 0. So if we have a look at it now, we have particles just going everywhere, which is what we want. And to control it so that it goes in this direction, we can add a wind force field. So just click your mouse somewhere over there, hit Shift A, force field, wind, and then we'll just turn it to go in that direction. For the wind strength, go to the physics tab in the properties window with this one selected, and then change the strength to something like 10. Maybe we'll add a bit of noise to something like 5. So now when I play back the animation, oh, that's quite strong. So maybe we might turn down the strength to about 5 and the noise amount to maybe 2. And I think that's looking better. And to create a nice, a bit of a swivel effect to our animation, I might just go ahead and add in another force field. Could do vortex, but I'll just do turbulence. And make this one strength 5 and size maybe 3. Doesn't really matter. Just to add a little bit more variation. Yeah, that's looking really good. Okay, so I think that's looking good. I'm happy with that animation. So let's go ahead and save that. So what we're going to do is now we want to start to add in these icospheres, these dust particles, to replace these particles over here. And that's quite easy to do. We'll just go ahead and select the My Logo Particles, go back into the particle settings. Under, I believe it's Render, we'll change the Render as Halo to Render as Collection. And the collection we choose is the dust particles. Okay, we'll make the size a whole lot more smaller. So we'll go pick random, maybe just to pick any random particles. And where do we choose the size? Over here. Change it to 0.01 maybe. So we get something that looks like that. We'll add a bit of randomness to the scale as well, maybe 0.2. Maybe actual increases maybe 0.02. No, maybe 0.02 is okay. Okay, so by adding a bit of randomness, we get a little bit more variation. Make our logo look cooler. Okay, so that's about it. I mean, if you want to go ahead and add materials to it, go ahead and add the same material to your logo and the dust particles. But I'm not going to add materials to it because the way I'm going to set up my logo render, the material part is not really that important. Alright, so at this point, we don't need to see the logo ripper particles. Next thing we need to do is in the My Movie Text particles, we don't want to see this logo being rendered. So I'm going to change the part here. Where does it say? Oh, in Show Emitter, just turn it off. When you toggle it off, it won't render in the final render. We don't need to see this emitter anyway. We have the other one, the My Movie Text. That's the one that we want to see. It shows here now in the viewport, but it won't show in the actual final render. Okay, so now if I bring in the My Movie Text and then play back now, we can start to see the effect. I think that's looking really good. We'll just hide the particle here as well, and we can see the Avengers dissolving logo start to take effect now. So that's looking cool. Oh, these particles are just getting in the way of the camera view. So I'm just going to move it well out of the way. Move this keyframe. I think there's animation data on it. That's why. So I'll just remove these keyframes over here. I'll just move it well out of the way. Okay, now we'll review the final animation. So just click play here. This is the same as when Thanos clicked his finger in Avengers Infinity War. That's the result we get. That is looking amazing. Cool. So now it's just time to set up the render. So for the render, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this light source over here, and I want to move it directly behind the logo. So our camera is over here on the top view, and our light source is over here. And just like in the Avengers logo, I'm going to move it down behind over here. And we need to set up a few things. So let's go to the shading tab over here in Blender 2.8. Change this one here from object to world. Get rid of this background. And we're going to add a new node. Shift A, shader, volume scatter. Go ahead and connect the volume output of the volume scatter into the volume input of the world output. Change the density to 0.01. Okay, so back in layout, I'm going to go ahead and hit save again. Go to the, I think it's the world setting, sorry, what's this one? The render tab in the properties window, tick volumetric, and I think that's pretty much all you need to do. You don't need to worry about anything else. We could also turn on volumetric shadows as well if you want a more realistic result, but I think that's looking okay. Then go ahead and turn on shading, and we get something that looks like that. Now, if you Google the Avengers movie logo, you'll see that it has a slight bluish tinge to the light that comes at the back. So I'm going to go to the color of this one and change it to like a sort of bluish tinge, like so. I might just turn up the strength to maybe 15 watts so that we see more of that logo. Okay, so now let's go ahead and hit save, and if I play back the animation, you get something that looks like this. Now the particles aren't showing very clearly. I think I probably need to increase the size. So if I go to my movie text particles, I might just increase. Another thing I need to do is maybe increase the number of particles. So this will slow down the render times a little bit. So I might have to cache this one. So let me just hit bake so that it saves the results in memory. So that you don't have to wait and see in real time. You just bake it in memory and then see it run pretty quick. Okay, so now when I play back the animation, sorry, let me just do that again. We play back the animation, and now we have far more particles being ripped off. Yeah, that's looking really good. But I think another thing I probably want to do is maybe increase the size. It is looking a little too small. So maybe we'll just double the size. Let's play it back now. Yeah, I think that is looking far better. Cool. And then I'll stop the animation around here on 140. So I'll just change the end frame over here to 140. Okay, so the animation is looking good. So the next part that I can really do is well, the animation starts from frame 50. So I have 50 frames to animate my intro. So let's just go to the animation tab. Let's select our camera. Where is our camera? Over here. And then let's just animate an intro. So by frame, let's say by frame 35, we'll just add a keyframe, turn on automatic keyframe selection, and just hit G and then enter. That'll add a keyframe right there. And then before that, we will go and maybe rotate it like so, and zoom in. So maybe somewhere around here. Now if I play back my animation, we get something that looks like that, and then the dissolve comes. Okay, so literally all I just did there is just turn on automatic keyframe selection. I just added a keyframe there just by hitting G and then enter. Then went to frame 1 and then just I hit G, Z, Z to zoom in, and then rotated the camera to create a more interesting look to our intro. I mean, you don't have to do this. This is just to make my logo more interesting. The dissolving part and stuff is already done. So the main focus of this tutorial is already complete. So all I need to do is just do something that looks like that. Cool. So finally what I want to do is we might just add in a basic material. So just go hit new for this material. Oops, sorry, not for the icosphere, but for the my movie text. Hit new. Oh no. Go to the materials tab over here, go ahead and hit new, and we want to turn down or turn up the specular of this one, turn down the roughness, turn up the metallic, so we get a more metallic look, and a little bit of clear coat as well. So it just looks a bit more metallic. And finally, just like in the Avengers logo, I'm just going to add in a very basic circle. I don't want to copy the Avengers logo 100%, so I'll just add in that circly thing and make it just very basic. Shift A, mesh circle, then we'll just go RX90, and then we'll just scale it up so that it encases the logo. Then tab into edit mode and then hit E to extrude and then move it out. Then select everything and then extrude it to about the thickness of the logo. Okay, and then we'll just go W and shade smooth. We may also go ahead and add in a subdivision surface. And we'll also add in a material for this one. We'll make this one a little darker. Maybe. Okay, so we have something that looks like that. So that's it. That is the basics of creating an Avengers style logo entry. So let me just quickly give this a render and we'll just see how it looks. So to give it a final render, just go back to the render tab over here. I might make it the final render. It's good to make 64, but I don't have that much noise, so I'm just going to keep it 16 as well. So that it renders quicker. You don't have to do that. It's probably better to increase the samples. It'll actually make it look more detailed. But anyways, go to the output settings over here, choose where you want to save it, but I'll also go ahead and choose FFmpeg video. That's about it. Then go to where I want to save it, the output. So here I might just save it something like Avengers, my movie logo. Okay, and that's about it. Just go into render animation, and yeah, just pretty much just wait until it's done. Oh, sorry, one more thing before you do anything. Turn on motion blur. It tends to make it look better. So over here, go motion blur, and now render it out. When you have moving animation like that, motion blur can really make it look awesome. Okay, so we'll just hit save and then render it out as an animation. Alright, so here is our final animation, and that is looking good. We have that dissolving effect coming out quite nicely, and this is all rendered in Eevee, by the way, not the Cycles rendering engine. So for that, I think that this result is looking really, really good. Now this is obviously very basic. This is purely just to show you the dissolving animation. Of course, I'm pretty sure you can make the logo look a lot more interesting than this. I'm not really doing anything with the circle, it's just purely just there. Of course, you can play around with the different camera angles and make it look a lot more impactful and a lot more powerful. But that's the basics of creating that dissolve animation. I hope this tutorial has been useful to you and that you learned something new. If you enjoyed this type of content, why not go ahead and subscribe to this channel. And I hope to see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.